My job is primarily research. I have 5 graduate students, pretty big lab in terms of undergraduates, 10 to 15 undergraduates, 2 to 3 staff members. So most of what we're doing is research. We do EEG and fMRI. We study basic mechanisms of emotion and emotion regulation, and also how those mechanisms go awry in internalizing psychopathology. I have to teach every now and then, and I have a lot of service these days. And I do a lot of mentoring of the students. I see that as part of the research because we're all engaged in the same projects. When I was an undergraduate, I first took a social psychology class, actually, at McGill, taught by the late Don Taylor. He was amazing. He was a wonderful professor and a very engaging speaker, which was probably part of what drew me in. But that was my first experience of learning about how we could, in the lab, investigate mechanisms of phenomena that I didn't really know until that point that could be quantified or actually measured, or you could ask a question about why some people felt more negative emotion than others, or how you might change that. And so it was fascinating to me that you could actually investigate that in an objective way and find some answers, or at least partial answers, to those kind of really elusive questions that can, or phenomena that are really hard to pin down, and that in some circumstances really cause people a lot of problems. So that really hooked me. I thought, this is something I want to do. I want to be able to learn these methods and techniques and apply them. And then as time went on, I became more aware of neuroscience, which is where I ended up, and that really made me feel better about what we were doing, because it wasn't solely relying on this single level of what people were reporting to us about how they felt. We had another measure to quantify people's emotional experience and the factors that affect it. And so that solidified my interest in the research that I do, and having a career in research in emotion and depression and anxiety. I think the most fascinating thing about the kind of career that I have is that we get to ask essentially any question we want. We are given a lot of freedom to ask the best question, the question we think will help the most for people with anxiety and depression, for instance, and then to design the best way to go about asking that question, finding the answers, implementing it. It's very creative, and there's a lot resting on us. It's a big responsibility in a sense, but it's really joyful for me when I get to choose that question, and especially when I find an answer to it. Not that there's ever, or rarely, a final answer. There's always another question to be asked, but you find out something. And so just building knowledge, discovering things, that's the real reward in the career that we do. And so if there's someone who hears what I'm saying and they can engage with that, and they find finding answers to questions about psychopathology interesting, then I think that's an indication this might be the right kind of career for them. Like anyone, I've had various challenges. One would have been academic career couple, so trying to find a job in the same place as my partner, which we did successfully do, but there were some nerve-wracking moments in there. Also, some grant funding challenges. Some of those projects which are very exciting and have real promise to me, and some others seem to see that somewhat, and yet there's kind of these barriers to getting them actually in motion. I've learned a lot through those experiences. And some of the challenges of collaborating, especially with clinical partners, where they have just a whole other set of concerns than we do as researchers, and how best to overcome those and work with them to implement projects. That's been a learning experience and a challenge. I think the most significant barrier to female leadership, I might have a 2-part answer to that. I think there are societal barriers. I think that some barriers are external, in that I think there are still some biases that exist in terms of the opportunities that are given to women, and how they're perceived and what is expected of them. But like most groups or individuals that have experienced, at least historically, discrimination, there is some internalization of that and some socialization that I think that women, even perhaps when it doesn't exist externally, might bring to the table, because they have had these experiences and they've been treated in certain ways before, or they've been socialized to be certain ways, which are not always the ways that will help advance their careers. For instance, I think being taught to be very modest right from when we're little girls on the playground, to women scientists, I think that there's certain ways in which we are taught are not appealing or appropriate to present ourselves, and sometimes those kind of contradict the strong or forceful or kind of leader-oriented ways that we might need to be in a research context or in a career context. We have a lot of great examples of female researchers and scientists and leaders these days. And so there are many instances of individuals who are scientists and women and successful that we can look to. And so I would encourage female scientists and psychiatrists and psychologists to look to those examples and role models and really try to emulate them in some ways. And other than that, just believe in yourself. In many ways, it is an open playing field. There are biases, but there are many opportunities, and it's definitely possible to be successful. And so don't let these things hold you back. Go for it. I have been motivated to take leadership positions within SOBP and other societies because I find it fulfilling to help give people the experiences that I have had in these societies. The conferences that I have gone to, including SOBP throughout graduate training and beyond and to present, have connected me to a group of peers and researchers that I would have no way otherwise to connect with, and that have really been fundamental in shaping my career trajectory as mentors, as colleagues, and just as peers, as people to connect with. And so that's been really fundamental to me. And so to have a role on the other side of it where I get to help with programming or select individuals to meet with trainees, that kind of thing, has been really gratifying. And I have something to give there. I can do that, and I have some experience now that allows me to help shape those decisions. And so that's been nice to be able to step in and help out in that way and give back. I do think there are parts of being a part of SOBP that have helped me learn to take on leadership roles. Currently I'm education chair. I'm just rolling off of that position, and I was junior counselor before. Both of those were phenomenal opportunities. Junior counselor was amazing to be able to see the inner workings of council, how that excellent high level of leadership is really directing the society. It really taught me a lot about not only the process by which council operates, but also the kinds of decisions they have to make, the concerns they have to balance, that I don't think we always see as members attending the conference, for instance. It's a wonderful program. I'd encourage anyone that hasn't served as junior counselor to take that opportunity. You can self-nominate and potentially do that. And then as being education chair, that's also been a really nice opportunity. First starting out as a committee member, and then participating in panels that were organized by the committee and kind of really learning the ropes from the inside prepared me to be chair. And so the opportunities arose from within. There's a lot of programming that happens at the annual meeting. A lot of what the Education Committee does is programming targeted at trainees, but it's these kind of other events, not the scientific symposia, but all the other events that are happening throughout the day to round up people's experience and provide them with mentoring and networking opportunities. So it's been great to have a hand in selecting and inviting people to fill all those roles to be speakers at these events, and it's been really fun. SOBP has connected me to other conferences like ACNP and other meetings, and I have roles on committees there, and so it's a small world, and I think it's all connected. That when SOBP has helped me connect with individuals and opportunities, that some of which are leadership opportunities. I'm grateful for that.